For the first 3 years of marriage, Lisa thought she had found her soulmate in Marcus. He was a graphic designer who worked from their small apartment in Seattle, and she was a nurse at the local hospital. Their life together felt like a beautiful song. Marcus would make her coffee every morning before her shift, and they'd spend evenings watching movies and talking about everything and nothing. Marcus used to laugh at her terrible puns, even the ones that made no sense. He'd dance with her in the kitchen while dinner cooked, spinning her around their tiny space. "My sunshine," he'd say, pulling her close. "I can't focus on my designs without thinking about you coming home." Those days were simple and sweet, filled with small moments that made life feel complete. But somewhere between Marcus losing a major client, the pressure of bills piling up, and the slow fade of their conversations, something shifted. Marcus became distant, always on his laptop, typing away at projects she never saw. When she tried to talk about her day at the hospital, he'd nod absently and give short replies. Or "that's nice," became his favorite responses. At first, Lisa made excuses. "He's stressed about work. Men need space sometimes. I should just be patient." But that space grew into a canyon between them. She'd wake up early, pack his lunch, leave sweet notes on his desk, and send him encouraging texts throughout her shifts. His responses became shorter and shorter, just "okay," or sometimes nothing at all. At night, Marcus would turn away from her in bed, his back a wall she couldn't climb. She'd lie there staring at the dark ceiling, replaying their conversations, trying to figure out what she'd done wrong. The apartment that once echoed with laughter now felt cold and empty, like two strangers sharing space, but not life. Lisa tried everything. She changed her hairstyle, bought new clothes, even cooked his favorite meals. But Marcus barely noticed. His eyes no longer lit up when she walked into a room. She had become invisible in her own home. One evening, her best friend Sarah came over for coffee. Sarah looked around the quiet apartment and shook her head sadly. "Girl, you're living like you're alone. This isn't a marriage. It's a roommate situation." She paused, then added half-jokingly, "Maybe you need to shake things up. Do something that'll make him remember you exist. Tell him you're pregnant or something. That would definitely get his attention." They both laughed, but the laugh felt empty. Still, that night, as Lisa lay awake listening to Marcus breathe steadily beside her, Sarah's words kept replaying in her mind. She remembered how Marcus used to talk about being a father, how excited he'd get watching baby videos online. Maybe if he thought they were having a baby, he'd wake up. Maybe he'd remember the woman he married. By morning, her decision was made. She'd fake a pregnancy. Not forever, just long enough to see if he still cared. Just long enough to know if there was any love left underneath all that silence. Women had done crazier things to save their marriages, hadn't they? This would just be temporary. A small drama to get his attention back. She told herself it was harmless. She told herself it was for love. She told herself it would work. What Lisa didn't know was that her small lie would set off a chain of events that would either save their marriage or destroy it completely. And Marcus, quiet Marcus with his cold silences, had secrets of his own. If you're enjoying this story, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Drop a comment below telling me what you think Lisa should do. Would you ever do something like this to save your relationship? Let me know your thoughts, and don't forget to share this video with someone who loves relationship. Lisa sat in the bathroom of a local pharmacy, her hands trembling as she held the pregnancy test. She watched the single line appear, confirming what she already knew: she wasn't pregnant. Tears filled her eyes, not just because of the negative result, but because part of her wished it were real. She had always wanted to have children with Marcus. Taking a deep breath, she pulled out a pink makeup pencil from her purse. With careful strokes, she added a faint second line to the test. It looked believable, not too dark, just like the early positive tests she'd seen in photos online. She stared at her reflection in the bathroom mirror. "This is for us," she whispered. "This is to save what we have." That evening, Marcus came home from a meeting with a potential client. He looked exhausted, barely acknowledging her as he dropped his bag by the door. Lisa waited until after dinner, her heart pounding so hard she thought he might hear it. They sat on the couch together, the television playing some show neither was watching. "Marcus," she said softly, I took a test today. He glanced at her, expecting her to mention a medical exam from work. A test. She pulled out the pregnancy test from her pocket and showed it to him. For a moment, time seemed to freeze. His eyes widened, his mouth opened slightly, and then he quickly arranged his face into a smile. "You're pregnant." His voice was strange, controlled. "Yes," Lisa said, smiling through her nervousness. Marcus pulled her into a hug, but she could feel the stiffness in his embrace. His arms felt mechanical, like he was going through motions rather than responding from joy. "Wow, that's big news," he said, but his voice lacked the warmth she'd hoped for. Still, she convinced herself it was just shock. Maybe he needed time to process. Maybe tomorrow would be different. But that night, while she pretended to sleep, she watched Marcus sitting on the edge of the bed in the dark, staring at his phone. The blue light illuminated his troubled face. He looked worried, almost suspicious. She couldn't see what he was searching for, but his expression made her stomach twist with anxiety. The next morning, everything changed. Marcus woke up early, humming as he made breakfast. "Morning, Mama," he said cheerfully, kissing her forehead. "How are you feeling?" Lisa was stunned. "Mama? Since when do you call me that?" "Since I'm going to be a dad." He grinned widely. "You need to start eating more. You're eating for two now." She blushed, feeling a strange mix of happiness and guilt. This was what she wanted, his attention, his affection, his presence. For months, he'd barely looked at her, and now suddenly he was smiling, joking, bringing her water and vitamins. Over the next few days, Marcus became the perfect husband. He brought home fruit, made sure she rested after her hospital shifts, and even started talking about baby names. "What do you think about Ryan if it's a boy?" he'd ask, rubbing her shoulders. Lisa felt like she was floating. Love had returned to their home. The cold silence had melted away. She almost forgot that it was all built on a lie. But what Lisa didn't know was that Marcus had his own plan in motion. That first night, after she'd shown him the test, he had made a phone call to his college friend Jake, who worked as a lab technician. "Can you test a pregnancy strip for me?" Marcus had asked quietly. "I need to know if it's real." 3 days later, Marcus met Jake at a coffee shop. Jake slid a paper across the table, his expression serious. "Man, I hate to tell you this, but there's no HCG hormone on that strip. It's been tampered with. Looks like makeup or ink." Marcus sat back in his chair, his jaw tight. "You're sure?" 100%. "That test is fake." Marcus drove home that afternoon with his hands gripping the steering wheel so tight his knuckles turned white. He felt betrayed, angry, and strangely hurt. Why would she lie about something like this? What kind of game was she playing? But instead of confronting her immediately, Marcus made a decision. He would pretend. He would play along with her lie, be the perfect supportive husband, and wait. Wait for her to confess, or wait for her story to fall apart. He wanted to see how far she would take this deception. Two could play this game. The weeks that followed were like watching a carefully choreographed dance where both partners knew the steps but pretended they didn't. Marcus continued being the perfect husband, attentive, caring, and involved. He'd place his hand on Lisa's stomach and talk about their future, all while knowing the truth. Lisa, meanwhile, played her role flawlessly, researching pregnancy symptoms online and mimicking them perfectly. She started holding her stomach when she walked. She'd run to the bathroom in the mornings, pretending to have morning sickness. Marcus would knock gently and ask, "Baby, are you okay?" And she'd emerge looking pale and weak, leaning on him for support. "You're really taking care of me," Lisa said one evening, curled up beside him on the couch. "I was so worried you wouldn't be happy about the baby." Marcus smiled, stroking her hair. "Of course I'm happy. This is what I've always wanted." The lie tasted bitter in his mouth, but he kept smiling. One afternoon, Marcus casually mentioned, "I'd love to come with you to your next doctor's appointment. I want to hear the heartbeat." Lisa's spoon froze halfway to her mouth. "Oh, my doctor doesn't allow partners in the examination room. Hospital policy." "Really? Which hospital are you going to again?" Marcus asked innocently. "It's a private women's clinic downtown," Lisa stammered. "They're very strict about their policies. You wouldn't even find them on Google. They're that exclusive." Marcus nodded slowly. "Okay, baby. Whatever makes you comfortable. I trust you." But that night, while Lisa slept, Marcus went through her purse. No hospital appointment cards. No prescription papers. No ultrasound images. Nothing. He sat on the edge of their bed, watching her sleep, feeling a strange mix of anger and sadness. How long would she keep this up? The breakthrough came on a Saturday afternoon when Sarah visited. Marcus pretended to be napping in the bedroom, but he left the door slightly open. He could hear their conversation clearly. "Girl, you're doing great," Sarah whispered excitedly. "He totally believes you. But remember, you have to keep acting. Walk slower, hold your stomach, and maybe start complaining about back pain soon." Lisa giggled nervously. I know. I'm just scared he'll figure it out. What if he asks too many questions?" "He won't," Sarah assured her. "Men don't know anything about pregnancy. Just keep doing what you're doing." Marcus lay in bed, his fists clenched so tight his nails cut into his palms. So Sarah was in on it too. His wife and her best friend were treating his emotions like a game, like a television show they were producing together. When Sarah left, Marcus walked into the living room where Lisa was humming and arranging flowers. His face was calm, but his eyes were cold. "You and Sarah seem to have fun today," he said casually. "Yeah, she's always good company," Lisa replied, not noticing his tone. "You two laugh like people planning a surprise party," Marcus continued, leaning against the doorframe. Lisa looked up, suddenly alert. "What do you mean?" Marcus smiled, a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Nothing. Just make sure your surprise doesn't backfire before the big reveal." "Backfire? What are you talking about?" Lisa's voice rose slightly. "Forget it," Marcus said, turning away, just thinking out loud. That night, Lisa couldn't sleep. Something in Marcus's voice had sounded off, like he knew something she didn't. She replayed the conversation over and over, searching for clues. Meanwhile, Marcus sat on the balcony in the dark, staring at the city lights. His phone buzzed. A text from Jake. "Man, when are you going to tell her you know? This is getting crazy." Marcus typed back, "Soon. I'm waiting for the right moment. She needs to learn that lies have consequences." But as he hit send, Marcus felt a pang of doubt. Was he being cruel? Was this revenge or justice? He thought about his mother's words from years ago. "Son, when you're angry, wait. The truth will always surface, but how you handle it defines who you are." Inside the apartment, Lisa pulled her blanket tighter around herself. She had wanted Marcus's attention, his love, his presence. She'd gotten all of that, but now it felt tainted, like borrowed clothes that didn't quite fit. The guilt was starting to eat at her. Both of them lay awake that night, separated by walls and secrets, each carrying the weight of deception. The storm was building, and they both knew it. The question wasn't if everything would explode, it was when, and neither of them was ready for what would come next. It was a cold Tuesday evening in November. The Seattle rain had been falling for 3 days straight, matching the dark mood that had settled over Marcus and Lisa's apartment. Marcus had been quieter than usual all day, not the loving quiet of recent weeks, but a heavy, suffocating silence that made Lisa's skin crawl. She sat on the couch, pretending to browse baby clothes on her tablet, but her eyes kept drifting to Marcus. He was pacing by the window, checking his phone repeatedly, his jaw clenched tight. Something was very wrong. "Marcus, are you okay?" she finally asked, her voice small. He turned slowly, and the look in his eyes made her blood run cold. "Am I okay?" He laughed, a harsh, bitter sound. "That's an interesting question, Lisa. What's that supposed to mean?" Her heart started racing. Before Marcus could answer, his phone rang. The screen displayed Jake Lab. He grabbed it quickly and walked to the balcony, closing the glass door behind him. But he didn't close it all the way. Lisa's instincts screamed at her. She set down her tablet and moved quietly toward the door. Through the small gap, she could hear his voice, low and angry. "Yeah, Jake. Thanks again for confirming it." Marcus was saying, "I'm done pretending. I'm going to end this tonight." Can you believe she's still acting? Zero HCG, completely fake, and she thinks I'm clueless. The words hit Lisa like a physical blow. Her legs nearly gave out beneath her. He knew. He had known all along. And he'd been pretending, just like her. Marcus continued. "The funny part is she doesn't even realize I've been playing her this whole time. She thought she was so smart. Lisa stumbled backward, her hand over her mouth to stifle a gasp. Tears burned her eyes, but behind them came something fiercer, rage. Pure, burning rage. When Marcus walked back inside, phone in hand and still wearing that fake, concerned expression, Lisa was standing in the middle of the living room. Her arms were crossed, tears streaming down her face. "So all this time, you knew," she said, her voice shaking. Marcus froze. The phone slipped from his hand and clattered on the floor. "What? You knew I wasn't pregnant?" Lisa shouted. "You've been mocking me, pretending to care, planning to humiliate me. What kind of cruel person does that?" Marcus's face hardened. "What kind of person? Let me ask you something, Lisa. What kind of woman fakes a pregnancy to manipulate her husband? What kind of person lies to their family, makes my mother pray and thank God for a grandchild that doesn't exist? I did it because I was desperate." Lisa cried, tears flowing freely now. "You stopped seeing me, Marcus. You stopped talking to me, touching me, loving me. I felt invisible in my own home. I just wanted to know if you still cared. So lying was your solution?" Marcus shot back. "You thought deception would fix our marriage? Do you hear how insane that sounds? Don't you dare act innocent." Lisa's voice rose higher. "You killed this marriage first. You shut me out. You made me feel worthless. You made me so desperate that I did something stupid. This is on you too." Marcus laughed bitterly. "Oh, so now I'm responsible for your lies? Classic. Let me tell you what I know, Lisa. I know about the fake morning sickness. I know there's no doctor's appointment. I know about Sarah coaching you on how to act pregnant. I know everything." Lisa felt like the room was spinning. "So what were you planning? To gather everyone and expose me? To destroy me in front of our families?" "No," Marcus said coldly. "I was waiting for you to confess. I wanted to see if you had enough dignity left to tell me the truth. But you didn't. You just kept lying." The words hung in the air between them like smoke. Then, without thinking, Lisa's hand flew up and slapped Marcus across the face. The sound echoed through the apartment. For a moment, there was complete silence. Marcus touched his cheek, his eyes wide with shock. Then he laughed quietly, a sound devoid of humor. "So this is who we've become," he said softly. "Two people who hurt each other and call it love. At least I still feel something." Lisa sobbed. "You've turned into stone. You used to love me, Marcus. What happened to us?" Marcus stepped closer, his voice dropping to barely above a whisper. "Maybe if you had trusted me enough to talk instead of lie, we wouldn't be standing here like enemies." "I didn't want to lose you," Lisa whispered, covering her face with her hands. "You already did," Marcus said, and turned away from her. At that exact moment, a knock came at the door. "Lisa, it's me," Sarah's cheerful voice called out. "I brought Thai food." Marcus's eyes turned to ice. "Perfect timing. Your co-conspirator is here." Sarah walked in smiling, holding takeout bags, but her smile faded instantly when she saw their faces. "What's going on?" "Oh, still pretending?" Marcus asked Sarah coldly. "Tell me, how does it feel to help destroy someone's marriage? You and your friend here deserve awards for your performance." Sarah's face went pale. "Marcus, Get out," Marcus said flatly. "Both of you. Out of my apartment." "Marcus, please," Lisa started. "Out." Marcus slammed his hand on the table, so hard a glass fell and shattered on the floor. Sarah grabbed her purse, trembling. "Lisa, let's go." But Lisa stood frozen, tears streaming down her face. "Marcus, don't do this. I'm sorry. Please, I'm so sorry." Marcus pointed to the door, his hand shaking. "You broke something that can't be fixed with sorry." With nowhere else to go, Lisa and Sarah left. The rain outside was pouring harder now, soaking them as they walked to Sarah's car. Lisa turned back once to see Marcus standing in the doorway, motionless, his silhouette framed by the light from inside. The door closed between them with a heavy thud, the sound of love collapsing under the weight of lies and pride. That night, Marcus sat alone in the apartment surrounded by broken glass and broken promises, and he cried for the first time in years. The days after the confrontation felt like walking through fog. Lisa moved in with her sister Emma in the suburb of Bellevue, bringing only a small suitcase and a broken spirit. Her eyes were permanently red from crying. and her voice was hoarse from explaining the story over and over again to family members who called with questions and opinions. Everyone had something to say. Some relatives said she got what she deserved. Others said Marcus was too cold-hearted. But none of them understood the full weight of what had happened, the loneliness that had driven her to lie, or the betrayal that had driven him to cruelty. Lisa replayed that final night constantly. She could still see Marcus's face when he said, "You already lost me." Those 4 words cut deeper than anything else. She'd pick up her phone 100 times a day, scroll to his name, and then put it down again. Pride and shame kept her fingers frozen. Meanwhile, across the city, Marcus wasn't doing any better. The apartment felt enormous and empty without her. Every corner held memories, her coffee mug by the sink, her jacket on the chair, her slippers by the door. He'd find himself making 2 plates of food before remembering she wasn't there. At night, he'd lie in their bed staring at the ceiling, and guilt would wash over him in waves. He told himself he'd done the right thing, that she needed to learn a lesson. But the truth was simpler and more painful. He missed her. He missed her voice, her presence, even her terrible jokes. One evening, Marcus's mother called. Her voice was sharp and direct. "Marcus, I heard what happened. I want to talk to you." "Hi, Mom," Marcus said tiredly. "Don't hi, Mom me. You sent your wife away over a pregnancy test? After 4 years of marriage." "She lied to me, Mom. She faked being pregnant." "And you've never lied before?" his mother asked pointedly. "You think deception is worse than pride? That girl stood by you when you lost your biggest client and couldn't pay rent. She worked double shifts at the hospital so you could keep your design business alive. She sold her grandmother's necklace, the one thing she had left from her family, to help you. And you can't forgive one desperate mistake." Marcus was silent. His mother's words pierced through his anger like arrows finding their mark. She continued, her voice softer now. "My son, when 2 people focus on who's right instead of who's hurting, the marriage dies. Lisa didn't fake that pregnancy to hurt you. She did it because she was drowning and you weren't seeing her. Go find her before you both become cautionary tales." That night, Marcus couldn't sleep. Every word his mother spoke echoed in his mind. Around 1 in the morning, he got into his car and started driving with no destination in mind. The streets of Seattle were quiet, rain pattering softly on the windshield. He parked near a bridge overlooking the water and sat there for hours, gripping the steering wheel. Finally, exhausted and broken, he whispered into the darkness, "Enough. I'm done fighting." The next morning, Lisa was sitting on Emma's porch with a blanket wrapped around her shoulders, staring at nothing, when she heard a car pull up. Her heart stopped. She'd know the sound of that engine anywhere. Marcus stepped out of the car, holding a small paper bag. He looked thinner, older somehow. His eyes were tired but gentle. "Can we talk?" he asked quietly. Lisa nodded, unable to speak. They sat on the porch steps, the morning air cold around them. "I didn't come to argue," Marcus began. "I came to say I'm sorry." Lisa's eyes widened. "You're sorry?" "Yes. I was angry and hurt, and I had every right to be. But I was also cruel. I was so focused on your lie that I forgot about my part in all this. I stopped talking to you, stopped seeing you, stopped being your husband long before you faked that test. And instead of confronting you with compassion, I set a trap. I played games. I wanted revenge. That was wrong." Tears flooded Lisa's eyes. "Marcus, I'm sorry too. I know what I did was terrible. I lied to you, to our families, to everyone. I was stupid and desperate and wrong. But I need you to know, it came from pain, not malice. I just wanted you to see me again." Marcus nodded, his own eyes wet now. "My mom reminded me that when a woman does something desperate in a marriage, it's often a cry for help. I should have heard your cry instead of focusing on the method. I should have asked myself why you felt so invisible that you thought lying was your only option." They sat in silence for a moment, the weight of their mistakes hanging between them. Then Marcus reached out and took her hand. "Can we start over?" he asked. "Not from the beginning. We can't erase what happened. But start from here, from truth. No more games, no more lies, no more silence. Just us, honest and real." Lisa squeezed his hand, tears streaming down her face. "Do you still love me?" Marcus smiled through his own tears. "I never stopped. I was just too proud to admit how much I missed you. I'll come home, Lisa said, but only if you promise something. Anything. Promise you'll talk to me when you're hurt. Promise you'll tell me when I'm failing you. Promise you won't let silence build walls between us again. I promise, Marcus said. And you promise too. No more tests, fake or real, until we're both ready. Lisa laughed through her tears. Deal. No more drama. I've had enough acting for a lifetime. They sat there on the porch for a long time, holding hands like two wounded people finally beginning to heal. That evening, they drove back to their apartment together. The place felt different, lighter somehow. They didn't talk much. They just cleaned together, cooked dinner together, and laughed at small things they'd forgotten how to enjoy. Later that night, sitting on the same couch where all the lies had begun, Marcus said, "You know what's ironic? Your fake pregnancy brought back something real, honesty." Lisa smiled. Then maybe it wasn't completely wasted. For months passed. They went to couples therapy, learned to communicate better, and slowly rebuilt trust. They had hard conversations, uncomfortable moments, and setbacks. But they kept choosing each other, kept choosing truth. Then one quiet evening, as the sun set over Seattle, Lisa leaned against Marcus in their living room and said softly, "You know what's crazy?" "What?" Marcus asked. "I'm actually pregnant now. For real this time." Marcus froze. He looked at her with wide eyes, and then he burst out laughing, genuine, joyful laughter. "You better not be joking again," he said, trying to sound stern but failing. Lisa smiled and pulled a pregnancy test from her pocket. No makeup, no tricks, just two clear lines. "No joke. This time it's real." Marcus pulled her close, and his laughter turned to tears of joy. Then maybe God decided to write the ending to our story himself. And just like that, the apartment that had once been a stage for deception became a home filled with authentic love, second chances, and new beginnings. And that's the end of our story. What did you think? Did Marcus and Lisa deserve a happy ending? What lessons did you take away from their journey? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I love reading your perspectives. If this story touched your heart, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel for more emotional stories, and share this with anyone who needs to hear a story about forgiveness and second chances. Remember, in relationships, choose truth over pride and compassion over revenge. Until the next story, take care and God bless.